Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Where does the future lead? Well, we have the man in charge giving us all the information on this and, of course, how we can benefit your future. So he can help you navigate, students, listen up, to really get unconfused, to really clarify and to get some more clarity for your future. The Student Compass is what I'm talking about. And the owner and mentor, President Jake Horne, joining us here again live today to talk more about his mentoring programs that he does. And of course, a lot of this has to do with the gap year and pre-gap year mentoring and so much more. So Jake Horne, welcome back. How are you today?
Fine, Jill. Thank you for having me back. This is a treat.
Well,
I'm happy to keep on chatting about this.
Well, same here. Just want everyone to know that you hail from Washington Depot, Connecticut, but you're working with students all over, nationwide, internationally, I should say.
That's right. Exactly.
Right.
I mean,
And
Europe, Asia, the United States, Australia. Yes, everywhere.
great. Well, Jake is worldwide, and today we're going to talk more about a lot of the careers of the future, preparation, and just a little overview about the work that you do at thestudentcompass.com. That's TheStudentCompass.com. Give us a little bit of the background as to what it is you offer, and then we'll get into specifics for today. Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. So I've been working at the mentoring the students who are graduating from high school who are interested in taking a gap year, but that's the year between graduation of high school typically and the start of college. And the reason why students have come to me over the years is simply because they have been in the school for 14 years. They have been living in their communities by and large. If they've done traveling, it's been with their parents. And they're at a perfect age, 17, 18, 19, 20, where they can get out into the big wide world. They feel like they need to understand the world, and they're looking for adventure. They're looking for something different, certainly before they go off to college. It's become even more important given the context of the world right now and all the stressors and the transformations that are happening presently and in the future. So the gap year is really designed to kind of give students the opportunity to develop a much broader perspective of how the world works, their place in it, build confidence, and become more independent.
Yeah, helps them get out of their own comfort zone. And
Right.
I'm sure in that gap year, they are learning so much more than we could ever imagine, which making them even better for and more prepared for when they go back to school, let alone the real world.
That's right. Exactly. And actually, today I wanted to talk a little bit about future careers.
Yeah, we mentioned a little about this in the past, and it's
Yes.
fascinating that there's all these new careers out there. And, just the first and foremost, you hear everything social. You go online, everyone wants social media marketers and developers, and it's like, wait, what's this? But there's so much more, and I'm shocked at all these careers that I don't even know about. So let's break
Right.
that down. Tell us.
Well, I mean, many don't exist yet, but the expectation is they most likely will. So part of the reason for going to school, part of the reason for going to college is to actually develop skills. So in life, you can actually have work, have a career, be able to support yourself, have a family, have a good life. And unfortunately, schools are not doing a great job at preparing students for what's new coming down the pike.
True.
So certainly because of technology, AI, biotech, the smartphone, and all the other things that are related to that, there is a lot more opportunity, but there's also many of those legacy jobs that have existed forever are going to start disappearing or have gone. And so you can't necessarily count on them being there for you when you start college, because things are churning so rapidly that when you graduate, that job may not be there or it may be diminishing, and the opportunities, you're competing much more stringently with other people who are looking for jobs. Yeah. So what's going to happen is a lot of those jobs, and there are going to be millions and millions of those jobs disappearing, but they're going to be replaced by other jobs which are very tech oriented.
Ah,
They're very digital oriented. They're not the typical analog jobs, but rather they're based on computers,
like virtual
based on
reality,
right,
AI.
right. So, I mean, I'm going to actually have to do a little reading off of my list here because there's I've got right here. I've got 100 some odd new jobs that
That's
are
right.
coming
By
down
the
the
way, this
pipe.
is all on his website. There's a whole bunch of future possible
Right,
careers listed below. I know we can't get into all of them, but we're definitely going to highlight them. So again, that's the
right.
studentcompass.com. And if you go under I think is it the more section? Yeah, you hit
Yeah,
possible future careers. All right, go ahead.
that's right. So, I mean, it just things like jobs that are disappearing are coding. For instance, everybody thinks that coding is going to what has been and is going to be the great thing, and it is at very high levels. But AI is now doing a lot of coding. As a matter of fact, I just read a report the other day about Google. Google, 30% of Google's coding is being done by AI right now, not humans.
Wow, it's
Okay, and that's
amazing.
Google. That's 30%. But entry level analysts, whether it's finance, whether it's consulting, all that's being displaced by AI. Telemarketers, they're going to disappear if they haven't already. Network administrators, that's all going to be taken care of by AI.
Hmm.
Or there's going to be a reduced number of administrators because they're going to be supported by AI. Library technicians, libraries. Let's see. Sorry, radiology technicians. Interestingly enough, if you go and have a mammogram or you go and have your lungs looked at,
Hmm.
the AI can, with much greater precision, detect anomalies than the trained uh, radiologist who's gone through, all medical school, all
Hmm.
residencies. I mean, all that. So that's going down the tubes. Um, Pharmacy technicians. I mean, that's going to be automated, most likely. Accounting clerks, forget them. They're out. Travel agents. I mean, people are booking a lot more of their travel online.
Yeah, I
It's
feel like
all
it's a
done through
dying
digital
breed.
platforms.
Uh-huh. And it's fun. I've talked to a few travel agents recently, and they said business is booming. It's great. And I'm like
Right.
surprised because I look around, there's nothing in my town, the nearby towns. I don't even know of any place there's a travel agency where I live,
That's right.
right?
Right.
I figure
Right.
it's all done online now, but a lot of people
Yes.
use the group discounts and use like the big sites like Priceline,
Right.
Expedia,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
But increasingly, that industry is going to disappear as the technology becomes much more efficient,
Yes.
and it can actually get you to where you want to be. I mean,
Hmm.
that's always an issue. Um, Real estate brokers. I mean, this is at a basic level. I mean, people go online and they do. Sorry, I'm not even just not even coming to me where you can actually look at houses
Oh,
or buildings that are online
you
that
go to
are priced out. They
Zillow,
give you all the detail. Yeah, right.
mhm, and it's
Yeah, so
all
that's
there.
going to.
People are, and
And
yeah, sell your home. There's a lot of those for sale, what is it? Homes for sale
yep,
from what is it? How do we say it?
I'm not even coming up
I
with a
can't,
platform
I
name.
can't.
Sorry.
It's you sell your home by owner. It's something like, yeah,
Right. Yes.
something
Yes.
like that. But yeah, everyone's doing it because why? That's a 6% commission, which now they're
Right.
cracking down on too. But go
Right.
ahead.
So all I'm saying is that either these will disappear or they'll be diminished considerably. So if you're thinking about going into that world, I mean, for instance, if you're interested in law, I mean, great. But I mean, most of the clerking, and the research is going to be done by AI. Now, they're going to be humans sort of moderating it, but you need far fewer people doing that. So the legal profession is going to have to morph.
Yeah.
The medical profession, I mean, you've got robotics, robotic surgery. People, MDs that are trained in robotic surgery that's going to be a requirement because
Okay.
the quality, the efficiency, and the cost ultimately is less, and the results are far more improved. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to become a surgeon, swell, but it better be in a field that robotics can't
Yeah.
operate in. So even the white collar legacy professions are really going to be hard pressed. Fewer jobs, less opportunity. But so shift gears, and you have to be looking at jobs or work careers that are digitally AI compatible, biotech compatible, and again, I have to look for my list here, but digital identity manager. I
Wow.
mean, people. Well, I mean, issues of identity are
All
people
the
are struggling
identity
to
theft.
figure out who I am, and
Hmm.
so it's an online sort of counseling. That is there's an AI behind it,
Yeah, and what about
and
you mentioned the medical field before, and what about careers in medicine as a doctor, anesthesiologist, surgeon? There's also now robotics. People need to
oh
learn how to
well,
operate the machines that are doing the
right.
surgeries for the surgeon.
Right. So it is. I mean, so what people have to learn in all industries is co-working at the very least with an AI. So which means they have to understand how AIs function. Nobody knows really how AIs work inside the black box, but you have to. But you can learn how to work compatibly in a particular industry with an AI, knowing full well that the AI is learning more and more because it's generative, and it's learning more and more about what it is, what it's working in, and therefore it's going to increasingly become more efficient and optimize, and therefore it's going to those jobs that you could step in today or next, in 5 years are going to increasingly disappear as other jobs appear, but as AI takes over more and more of that responsibility. I mean, there's been talk for years about creating an AI utopia, where
Yeah.
AI does all the work,
Hmm.
and we just go to the beach, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. But uh, whatever is going to happen, AI, the digital world is going to be driving it, and humans, all of us who have careers, are going to have to be
Yeah.
good at knowing how to work compatibly with these AIs. Lots of drone stuff. I mean, we have uh, you know drone farming,
What's
where
that?
farmers are using drones to measure temperatures,
Oh,
measure crop
check on the
production
crops. Check.
on the
Oh,
crops, measure the
okay.
quality of humidity, water. I mean, and it's all everything is data. And so you have to. So if you're going to be in the farming industry, you got to know. At a small farmer, forget about agri business. They're all droning, but being a drone operator is increasingly going to be. It's been very attractive to date, but it's going to increasingly become more and more AI controlled because you just have one
Amazing.
person moderating or observing and collecting data for a whole slew of of farms, or drones. And so again, increasingly AI will be lifting a lot of those careers out of the workforce, and people are going to have to know how to work compatibly with that.
Yeah. Now, wait,
That.
Jake,
So
are colleges starting to train on these, or do people have to go to vocational schools to learn all this? Because where's that coming from? Because also the universities have to kind of change now too. What's
sure,
happening with
absolutely.
that?
Well, there's this push and pull between the importance of the liberal arts education, which
Hmm.
has more to do with human characteristics, thinking, critical thinking, creativity, uh, lateral thinking, communication, human to human communication, ethics. I mean, all of these things are really, really important. And so what there is a push to
Okay.
create co-curriculum, which incorporates both the technology
Hmm.
and the industry. And so it's vocational. I mean, you can go and become a welder, great, but if you are a nano welder and you're working at micro, it's very, very tiny subatomic levels.
Yep.
That's a whole other level, but it's going to be critical because materials are going to be all you know nano based.
Amazing.
So it's just fascinating because there are going to be millions of new jobs created, but you have to be ready. You can't go step back and say, let's make it the way it used to be.
Hmm.
Once people started using the internet, once people started using and the society started using AI, you know, it's like a Pandora's box. It's out,
Yep.
and nobody's. Are we all going to give up our smartphones?
Oh,
are we all going to give up the internet? No, it's not going to
ah,
happen. And that,
yeah.
but that creates again lots of opportunity,
Yeah.
and particularly if you're in a global society, which we are.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we want to create a fence around the United States or any country wants to create a fence and keep everybody out, it just can't happen because you've got a global economy
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's impacting everybody. There's no such thing as an island anymore. Everybody is dependent. So the
Yep.
point is that stepping back to the gap year, it's really
Mm-hmm.
the first time, if it's designed well, that these kids who take a gap year develop an appreciation for the way the rest of the world works. It's the
Beautiful.
first time these kids are going to be independent and have to be resilient and solve problems that arise during their gap year. It's practice for this future, which is where everybody is going to have 20 careers, 30 careers.
Yeah.
It's a constant moving target. And if you get behind, if you're not upskilling all the time, and being aware, then you're going to get left behind. And frankly, if you're in a position, there's nobody to blame but yourself.
Yep.
That's not really ultimately fair because not everybody has the same access.
Well,
But the upshot is having uh, being flexible,
yep.
learning to be independent,
Yep.
be responsible for yourself and your future. These are skills that are not taught in school. These are skills that are actually not really taught in the community. Very few kids out there are really learning how to be, independent,
Prepared and
confident,
independent. Yep.
without being managed by somebody, their
Beautiful. Well,
parents, their community, their school, whatever.
we're going to talk more about this. And again, we're talking careers of the future here with Jake Horne. Remind us of all the ways that we can reach out to you, if you don't mind, before we
Not at
continue.
all. So it's the Student Compass. It's a mentoring organization. We spend time with kids thinking about who they are, what they would like to be, what they value, that sort of thing. Um, it's so the Student Compass.
Yep.
You can reach us at www.thestudentcompass. Uh, Email is Jake Horne, JakeHorne 8216 at gmail.com. And the telephone number is 860-921-6158. And I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Great.
Um,
And it's really important because a lot of this Gen Z generation, right? I feel a lot of them are really not as focused, right? And they may need this year to figure out what would work best for them and to explore and to learn. But let me just ask, if you take a gap year, what are
yeah,
statistically the chances of them really going back and continue with that education? Do some get lazy and love this gap year? And do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Can you just share that aspect of it?
sure. And I think I've said this on previous shows, but it's that's one of the first questions that parents
People, yeah.
ask: is my kid ever going to go to college? By and large, most of the students I work with have already been accepted to college,
Okay.
so they know where they're going to go. They ask for a deferred year. Colleges are
Hmm.
very happy to give them a deferred year because they know those students who take time off are going to be much stronger, much healthier, much more productive, and engaging. So so the number of kids I've lost to not going back to college is one in the hundreds and hundreds of kids I've worked with, and that was for a young man in Paris who was wanted already had a family and wanted to recruit him into the work in the family. But the upshot is no, it's not. 98% all go back to college, all go to college, and they go back far more engaged. They're like pumped to go to school because they now have experienced part of life and had conversations with others, gap year students from all over the world that kind of charge them, really, get them really interested and excited about the possibilities of what they can learn in college. And so they all go back to college, different people, much more engaged. And again, colleges love these kids because they are the real participants in classes, on campus, and as alumni. So
Got it.
no problem with going back to school.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. And again, we're talking about the preparation, the future transformation, and the present state of society, and then you're going to back us up a little about the past 24 years. Just want to make sure we're staying on track. We do have 8 minutes
Yeah,
left in the show, Jake. So
sure. Yeah.
let's continue. What else did you want to add?
So, I mean, again, these kids have been, if the oldest Gen Zer is 25, 26, 24, I mean, these kids have lived in a world which is very different than the world that I certainly grew up in, you grew up in, and that is it's been a digital world. Firstly, they're
Yeah.
digital natives, screen, completely comfortable with screens and everything goes along with that. But they've also experienced 24 years of really dysfunctionality in terms of the society itself, American and global. You've got climate issues of climate change. You have pandemics that have happened. You have business disruptions, housing collapses, wars, business transformation, parents and families, losing wealth. There's this sort of constant destabilization, and they have lived through this, and so it's part of their psyche, and they are anxious. They are, in large part, of 40% of these kids are dealing with mental health issues.
Hmm.
Not profound, not institutionalized, but certainly issues of anxiety and depression because they're so uncertain and the world they've grown
Yeah.
up in has been so unstable. What do you count on? And growing up, me growing up in earlier generations or earlier decades, I mean, it all felt good. It was all working. Everything was getting better. And this is not just the state of politics. This is the state of
Uh,
the world we're living with all of these transformations that are
Amazing.
happening.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, and I'm really, particularly Gen Z kids, I think they're really bright. They're really engaged and really interested, but they're stuck. They're lost. And they haven't had any practice and training at being
Yeah.
independent people and
Mhm.
how to go about, finding and thinking about their future.
And a lot of them
So,
love their video gaming, their cell phones. And guess
right.
what? Those are all future careers. There's
That's
people
right.
creating the video games, people
Right.
creating all this technology behind
Right.
that. So they can be on their phones if they want.
Right. Which is, and they love it. But
Yeah.
the other aspect is they have to know how to step away from it too.
Yes.
Because it's
Hmm.
like anything else. If you immerse yourself in it completely, you're stuck in the silo and you have no perspective.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with other human beings, you've got to know what the impacts of the work you do has. And that's one of the things that I think in this is what I carp at is that the United States particularly is a kind of a zero sum society. There's a certain amount of resources available. I'm going to get them all. I get them as many as I want for me as I can possibly get. And the rest of you have to figure it out yourselves. And that kind of competition does engender
Yeah.
incredible entrepreneurship, but the ethics behind it may be very disruptive and uh, very destabilizing. So you think about the smartphone, and you think about, well, what a great device this is. It's connected. It connects the world, but it also opens the world up to all sorts of bizarre
And
information and
distractions and
right and you lose you lose focus. I mean, kids have to have attention.
absolutely. Yeah.
And the aphorism is, humans have a shorter attention span than goldfish. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like 6 seconds, and that's because of the screens and they are, and also the isolation that goes along with screen time because you're not
Yeah.
spending any time with
Hmm.
friends,
So
having
funny.
normal conversations. You're
Hmm.
not being a participant in the human experience.
So true.
So,
Well, go ahead, continue. Just want to let you know we have 4 minutes left and we are
okay.
working here. Again, if you are joining us today, don't forget this is Jake Horne talking to us today about our possible future careers and so much more. He's helping those with the gap year see this new world of change and what's happening at the student campus. Let's continue.
So, I mean, students in Europe have, for the last, certainly since the Second World War, if not before the Second World War, have taking a gap year has been a matter of course. They just do it before they go to uni or before they go off into their careers. And that's just expected. Because for them to be adults, they have to go and be in the world. They have to immerse
Yep.
themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
they visit other countries, other cultures. They wander, make decisions. They meet new people from, the other side of the world, and that really broadens their understanding, their willingness and ability to compromise, to experience new ideas and accept them as possibilities as opposed to outright rejection.
Yeah.
Americans, this is like novel, completely novel. It's growing, but very, very
Mm-hmm.
slowly because we're still on this track of high school to college to career. And it's really kind of this continuation of the same thing with very little practice in application.
The real world, in a
Yeah,
sense, yes.
right. So the real world is unknown to them. So when they graduate from college, all of a sudden they're confronted by this big leap. And the leap is deep because they don't quite know what and how to do it. The old days of companies lining up to recruit are by and large gone. And even at the most hot potato schools, that's diminished. The
Yeah.
competition really it now is for people to be for students to be what businesses want, which are
Mm-hmm.
independent, creative, team building, uh, driven to collaborate and work and solve problems
Yep.
and not have to be handheld.
Mm-hmm.
And so this practice is really important. Taking the gap year is the first step to then practicing that in college. So you come out of college with not just a body of knowledge and theory, but you also have a sense of how it works and how it practices and applies in this big wide world which is changing. So,
Beautifully said. Big
yeah,
worldwide out there, but the more practicality and the more hands-on, I feel like, and by the way, just for people that don't know about you, Jake, you went through this yourself, right? You
I
took
did,
that
yes.
gap year. Explain. And this kind of what
Yeah,
inspired you to start
right.
helping others, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, I took time off from my college during that
Yeah.
time, which was very disruptive in college,
Mm-hmm.
and stuck my thumb out,
Yeah.
much to my parents' unhappiness. I have three daughters, and they all did gap years, and they were all over the world doing different remarkable things, and it's changed their way of approaching their world and being much stronger individuals,
Got
being
it.
much more confident, and I see that with the kids I work with. So I would encourage
Yeah.
anybody out there to not be shy about taking a gap year.
Yep.
You're
Okay.
going to not lose ground.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went back to college, I was going to school with kids who were,
Mm-hmm.
a lot younger, but I was, way ahead in terms of what I understood,
Yeah.
why I was taking that course and how it applied.
Well, thank you so much, Jake. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but great conversation. Again, remind
Right.
us how we can contact you.
So the website is www.thestudentcompass.com. My name is Jake Horne. Get in touch with me via email, Jake Horne, JakeHorne, 8216
Yeah.
at gmail.com, or give
Perfect.
me a call, 860-921-6158. Happy to talk.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here,
Good.
helping inspiring our younger generation. Guys, listen up. He's the man in charge of helping you. And if you're thinking about this, your parent, your grandparent, reach out. This is all beneficial to our youth, to our future. He's helping families all over the world. Thank you again, Jake, the Student Compass. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
when I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.